Hey, truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. In this video, we're going to look at the flooding in Louisiana and we're going to ask the question, is this flooding an act of Mother Nature or is it an act of mad science? If you're not aware, the U.S. military has had a weather modification program in operation since the Vietnam War. In the Vietnam War, it was admitted that the U.S. used something called cloud seeding, which involves spraying chemicals in the atmosphere that attract moisture that increase rainfall. The U.S. military believes that they increased rainfall over the Vietnamese troops who they were fighting against by about 30%. And the goal of that was just to make their life more miserable, more difficult. They were very reliant on foot, moving through the jungle. Just imagine a wetter, sloppier, muddier environment. Already a place that it rains, adding even more rainfall. So we're going to look at the reporting and the facts surrounding what has happened in Louisiana. The flood rains began August 8th, 2016. We'll talk about why that's suspicious. If you're new to my channel, what I talk about often is numerology and gematria. Gematria is the practice of coding numbers into words. By learning this language, you can see through what the media is truly communicating. And what you need to know is that the people who run our government, who run our media, they are Freemasons. They are Zionist Jews. And within these communities, they use these languages to communicate. And all throughout history, this nation, the United States of America, founded by Freemasons, founded by Jewish banker tyrants, all throughout history, our history has been created by numbers of significance in this language of gematria. So let's begin here. CNN's headline today, Louisiana's mammoth flooding by the numbers. A suspicious way to put it, and I am quite convinced that this flood was started with the August 8th rains on purpose, which we'll get to. Notice they post this at 1:47 p.m. Eastern Time. If you write out Master Builder, it sums to 147. Master Builder in numerology is for a very special number 22. It's called the Master Builder number. In Revelation, the book of prophecy, there's 22 chapters. We're going to be talking about the significance of prophecy in regards to flooding and the word flood in the English language. In the Bible, in Genesis, the first book, there's the prophecy of the flood that Noah's aware of. Revelation, the final book of the Bible, is based on the first 39 books, which are known as the Old Testament that the Jewish faith goes by. Noah's Ark, the story of the flood, is from Genesis, the first book of the first 39 chapters. This headline in Gematria sums to 167. The 6-7 sequence in that's important, which we'll get to, but 167 is the 39th prime number. Again, Revelation is based on the 39 books of the Old Testament. Revelation, the book of prophecy. In Genesis, it begins with the story of the prophecy given by God to Noah of the flood to come. In the story where it first mentions the flood waters coming is Genesis 7:6. And Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters was upon the earth. What's interesting about 7:6 is its reflection is 67, and water in Gematria sums to 67. So is the word west. And the English language was created in the UK. When they looked out west, it was nothing but water. And then look, after they set up their English language, they came and created this nation, the United States of America, that speaks English. Is it a coincidence? I don't think so. Revelation, the book of prophecy, I often talk about its gematria of 49 and 121. If you use the V exception on Revelation, Revelation sums to 67. Revelation's about prophecy and the destruction of the earth. The story of the flood in Genesis is also about the destruction of the earth. Notice this. Destroy and prophecy have the exact same gematria. Flood and prophecy also share gematria. And again, Revelation connects to the gematria of water, Revelation about the destruction of the earth as well. This Flood, it began with the rainwaters on August 8th, 2016. Right here, radar estimated rainfall. Look at this. A massive number. Thousands, hundred thousands, millions, billions, 6.9 trillion gallons of water, supposedly, that began August 8th through August 14th, which caused the flood. August 8th, 2016 is a date with 52 numerology. Again, flood equals 52, prophecy equals 52. August 12th, within this period of rain, was the 225th day of 2016. 600 years old in Gematria sums to 225. The word 6 alone sums to 52, like prophecy, like flood. Noah was 600 years old, according to the story. The first stat that CNN puts up by the numbers is the 40,000 homes damaged. And think about it. The Great Flood in Genesis is 40 days, 40 nights. 40,000 homes damaged. United States equals 40. United States of America equals 84. If you write out 40 as a word, it sums to 84. Special number to this nation created from the numbers of the book of Revelation, the book of prophecy. The Church of Philadelphia is named in that book, the original capital of this nation. Noah's Ark in Gematria sums to 33, number of Freemason obsession, also 42. The first published Bibles were 42-line Bibles. The New Testament begins with the 42 generations leading up to Jesus. New Testament equals 42. Here they say in the number of days, it was 31.39 inches of rain in just one of the days. 31.39. And the 39 we just talked about, 31 is the 11th prime number, the master number in numerology. 11's master, 22 is master builder. The word master has gematria of 31, and the number 31 is the 11th prime number. So it's interesting that right after this stat, of 31.39 inches, the next stat up is 11 deaths across the state. And the thing to keep in mind is they just report bullshit numbers. It's possible that 1,000 people are dead. It's possible that more than 1,000 people are dead. It's possible that less than 11 people are dead. I'm not there. I don't know how devastating the flooding is. I don't know how quick it came on. But just remember, the numbers that they put in front of our eyes, they're all manipulated. They're all part of their, reporting by the numbers, as the article says at the top. This is exactly what I'm exposing on this channel. So very suspicious that the flood waters began on that date. Yesterday, CNN had this front page story for a lot of the day, Cajun Navy to the rescue. Cajun Navy has gematria of 666, just like prophecy and Jewish gematria. Revelation, the book of prophecy, is where the number 666 is made infamous. Revelation 13:18. And Revelation is the 66th book in most Bibles. 66, 666. Again, when you write out 6 as a word, 19 plus 9 plus 24, S plus I plus X equals 52, just like prophecy equals 52, just like flood. August 13th, when the flooding was reaching its pinnacle, was in the Jewish faith, the Jewish holy day of tragedy, known as the 9th of Av. On this day in Jewish history, their temples were destroyed in Jerusalem. If you're new to my channel, I've explained how Jewish people with an agenda created this nation with the plan of using it for the world wars, the establishment of Israel, and all the other things you see going on in this world to build the one world order. Think about the United Nations in New York, 39 floors tall. There's so much Jewish symbolism in this nation in the numbers if you know what to look for. Jewish equals 74, Masonic 74, Independence Day 74, Holiday 74. It's why our Independence Day is 7-4. The 9th of Av in Gematria sums to 46, just like sacrifice, also just like Baton Rouge. The worst tragedy happening in the nation during the 9th of Av was the flooding in Baton Rouge in Louisiana on this day of remembering tragedy, the destruction of the temples in Jerusalem. In Jewish Gematria, the holiday is called Tisha B'Av. It's the 9th day of the 11th month, and in Jewish Gematria, it sums to 9/11. Think about that. There's a reason September 11th was our date of tragedy. It's because this nation is run by this gang by the numbers. They definitely staged September 11th by the numbers. What I'm asking is, have they created this flooding also by the numbers? How great is their technological capability? When you can consider that they increased rain a half a century ago in Vietnam, imagine what they can do 50 years later. By the way, the number 911 is the 156th prime number. False flag equals 156. When you write out 33, it sums to 156. The World Trade Centers lasted 33 years. The construction firm that built them, Magnuson Klemenkic Associates, equals 156. Here was a headline from early in the flooding. This is from August 13th. Get out now, residents told. In Gematria, get out now, residents told, sums to 106, just like destroy, just like prophecy. Always coding the headlines with Gematria. Earlier this year, flooding in West Virginia that was suspicious. The flooding began on a date with 66 numerology. West Virginia equals 66. Revelation's the 66th book of the Bible. At least 26 dead in West Virginia flooding. The word God equals 26. And there are people in this world very much playing God over our lives. West Virginia also has this connection to 33 and false flag in Gematria, just like we talked about. The movie The Truman Show, that came out on the 156th day of the year. It's about playing God over people's lives. You know, in that show, they control the weather. The main character, Truman Burbank, his name in Gematria sums to 156. Not a coincidence. That movie named after the 33rd president, Truman. 156, 33, all comes together so nicely. Here's the flooding last year in the Carolinas, 1,000-year level of rain. And in Gematria, the Jewish format, it sums to 1916. This was the worst flood last year since the 1916 flooding in the Carolinas. Coded right into the headline. And look at what it says here. 600 National Guardsmen, 600-year-old Noah. You see? Hurricane Joaquin, a 33 name, catastrophic. Notice that catastrophic and hurricane both have Gematria 52. And in this age of advanced weather warfare, it's entirely possible to think that the powers that be can definitely increase the power of hurricanes, steer them, possibly even create them. If you've seen my work on Hurricane Sandy, Hurricane Katrina, what I did when I started this channel, I showed a lot of very interesting things. I should go back and redo those videos with what I know now, applying even greater understanding. Some more flooding reporting. This is from September 15th, 2015. 6 dead, 7 missing in flash floods in Utah and Arizona. Think about 6 and 7, what we talked about, water, 67, Genesis 7:6. Reporting by the numbers. So now here's where we're going to close out. We're going to talk about weather warfare. We're going to talk about HAARP. And then we're going to watch a video courtesy of the History Channel, which isn't the most authentic channel to go by. It's controlled opposition. All of the information is filtered. But sometimes even on the History Channel, they drop major clues. And what I'm going to show you is about a 6-minute clip that I think is a major clue. So here's weather warfare, the history of using it in Vietnam. If you read about the history of researching weather warfare, it came out of the Cold War between the U.S. and Russia. The Vietnamese War, one half of the Vietnamese were supported by the U.S., the other half were supported by the USSR. The United States, Russia, United States of America, United States of Soviet Russia. These are both two nations under the same Masonic, Jewish, banker tyrant, one world order. A lot of people don't get that. The U.S., Russia, they serve the same masters. I bet you someday the USA breaks into smaller nations just like the USSR did. Anyhow, since Vietnam War, it's been documented that they've used this technology to create rain, alter weather. In the 90s, the government admitted to having this advanced research technology that was about weather modification and researching, you know, what happens when you send these highly charged beams into the ionosphere, what happens when they return to Earth? What does it do to climate where the energy is focused? It's called HAARP. And notice that HAARP in Gematria sums to 44, just like military. This is a military project, just like kill. And that's what the military is for here, to inflict death and destruction. HAARP sums to 44. Weather warfare sums to 71. These are the only two numbers when written out as words that sum to 144, which is a number that has everything to do with killing and destruction. Very interesting. I do not think it's a coincidence. So we're going to close out here. What I do on this channel is introduce people to information and let them come to their own conclusions. I try to warn people about, everything, including what the History Channel is. This isn't a channel that I normally recommend listening to, but I think this presentation right here is very interesting and worth thinking about. Let's close out with this.
It's no coincidence that the United States began building. They are located.
I just wanted to pause. Just look how they start with the word coincidence. Do you know that coincidence has gematria of 84, just like United States of America? And in this nation, they have really programmed the people to think everything is coincidence. I think just even saying the word just reinforces it for so many people.
It's no coincidence that the United States began building its own mysterious array of antennas in February 1992. They are located in Gakona, Alaska. The project is called HAARP.
I just did a quick calculation in my head. Mystery sums to 44. How about it? Mystery and HAARP.
HAARP is the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project, originally a joint effort of the Air Force and Navy in cooperation with a number of academic institutions.
It is today the world's largest radio broadcasting station, but it's not designed to broadcast for human ears. It uses unique patented ability to focus the energy coming out of the antenna field and injects that energy into a spot at the very top of the atmosphere in a region called the ionosphere.
HAARP is comprised of 180 antennas, approximately 72 feet tall, linked together to function as one giant steerable antenna. Steerable because it can aim millions of watts of ELF waves into one tiny patch of the atmosphere.
The amount of energy we're talking about here is 3.6 million watts. To give you an idea of what that is, the largest legal AM radio station in North America is 50,000 watts. HAARP is 72,000 50,000 watt radio stations, injecting their entire output into a spot that's about 12 miles across by about 2.5 miles deep by about 90 miles up.
This is where HAARP is pointing. It's an area located roughly 300 miles from Anchorage. The U.S. military says HAARP is merely being used to study the physical and electrical properties and behavior of the ionosphere for both civilian and defense purposes. But another theory has surfaced. The intense energy being beamed into the sky by HAARP is actually heating up the atmosphere, causing weather changes.
HAARP is being used for weather modification. The military's own record proves it. They've admitted it within their own documents, and yet they still deny it to the public.
Dr. Brooks Agnew has researched ELF wave technology for the past 30 years and is convinced HAARP's effect on the ionosphere does alter the weather.
HAARP couldn't affect the jet stream directly, but indirectly it could, because if you push the ionosphere out into space, then the stratosphere just under the ionosphere has to move to fill in that gap. When it moves, it could pull the jet stream with it, thus rerouting it hundreds of miles, changing the way water moves through our atmosphere.
That's what we're talking
Dr.
about,
Agnew
water.
has devised a demonstration to show how HAARP could manipulate the atmosphere.
So what we've done is we've got a cloud generator up here. It's an ultrasonic nebulizer. It's going to create real water particles, just like you would find in a cloud. What we're seeing now is we're actually filling this chamber with microscopic water particles. You can see that it's almost completely filled with water vapor. It's beginning to condense a little bit on the sides, just so that you can see the detail. We've got a nice dense fog, just like you were sitting inside a cloud at 50,000 feet.
At the bottom of the cloud chamber, Dr. Agnew has constructed an ELF wave transmitter. a miniature version of HAARP.
We're only using 100 watts. It's perfectly safe.
When Dr. Agnew turns on the ELF wave transmitter and begins shooting ELF waves into the simulated cloud, the cloud begins to move up to the top of the chamber, taking the moisture with it.
If you get down low enough, you can actually see a clear layer above the antenna. It is actually pushing these water particles up, and that's exactly how HAARP works. What we've done is we've not only pushed the cloud off of the HAARP antenna, but as you can see, our cloud is almost completely gone inside. HAARP does exactly the same thing. It ionizes the particles, pushes them out into space.
HAARP is one of several ELF wave transmitters located all over the globe. The United States owns and operates 3 of them. One in Gacona, Alaska, another in Fairbanks, Alaska, and one in Arecibo, Puerto Rico. Russia has one in Vasilursky near Nizhny Novgorod, and the European Union has one near Tromsø in Norway. Working in tandem, these transmitters could potentially alter the weather anywhere in the world, changing the jet stream's course entirely, triggering massive rainstorms or droughts. Even hurricane steering would be possible by heating up the atmosphere and building up high-pressure domes that could deflect or change the course of hurricanes. The U.S. government is firm in its position that HAARP is just an atmospheric research facility. But is it more than coincidence that since going online, some experts have reported strange weather anomalies, including massive floods, hurricanes, and earthquakes? HAARP went online in 1994, and construction continued until 2007. There are reportedly a total of 5 known ionospheric heaters, including HAARP, in the world today. There are possibly 20 other ionospheric heaters in existence all over the world. There is no conclusive proof that any of them are being used as weather weapons, though they do have the ability to manipulate the ionosphere. And that brings us to something else. December 2001. Scientists at NASA's Ames Research Center in Palo Alto, California, make a discovery. In studying more than 100 earthquakes with magnitudes of 5.0 or greater, they find that almost all of them are preceded by electrical disturbances in the ionosphere. Could there be a connection to HAARP or a facility like it?
To say that HAARP can artificially excite the ionosphere in such a way to cause an earthquake, well, it alarms me.
Dr. Agnew experienced the power of ELF waves firsthand back in the 1980s. He was hired by an energy company to locate oil and gas using the same kind of ELF waves at much lower frequencies to carry out his search. It's a process called Earth tomography.
All right, so they were getting into how a geologist using these ELF waves in Oregon shot him down into the ground doing his geological work, and he's fairly certain it triggered a small quake. So he's convinced that these ELF waves, even in low dosage, can trigger an earthquake. He wonders what they can do in these magnificent dosages or doses that HAARP creates. 2 things I want to show you. In Gematria, the word earthquake sums to 44, just like HAARP, just like kill. It's interesting how many words having to do with destruction sum to 44. From earthquake to genocide, kill, car crash. So many destructive things that we talk about have Gematria 44. Another thing that is going on in this world that a lot of people aren't paying attention to are the use of chemtrails. And just the singular of that word, chemtrail, has Gematria 44. And it seems that, to me, at the very least, we're being slowly poisoned with, medicals being added to our atmosphere that are being sprayed out in high dosages all over the world. Some people say these chemtrails, they're an illusion, they're a distraction. But when you live in places where they spray, it becomes undeniable. It was August 13th, where I live up here. Seattle was one of those undeniable days. It was a beautiful, clear day, not a cloud in the sky. Then all of a sudden, they start spraying all over. And, you know, this spray, if you've seen it, it slowly disperses over hours. And next thing you know, your sky's all washed out. It's gray. It should be a blue day, but all the chemical spray left from the planes has now contaminated the entire sky. And it's that way for hours. You know, when they did it here, it was probably 10 in the morning when they started spraying. By 3 in the afternoon, the sky was washed out. Later that night, it had cleared back up. But, you know, this is what they're doing, and it's mad science. Who knows all what they're trying to achieve? I'm just trying to say we need to be aware of what's going on. We need to start speaking up, getting questions answered, and, you know, stopping this purposeful agenda. We've allowed insane people to rule over us for too long. All of this stuff being done to us, all of this spraying, you know, these research facilities, this all paid for with our taxpayer dollars. All of us who think we just need to shut up and go to work and keep our heads down, this is what we're contributing to. All right, Truth Seeker, until next time.